Over 2 nights in June 2019, NBC held the first Democratic presidential debate. It gave voters a look into the issues that Democrats are going to be running on in 2020. So buckle up, everybody, because we're going to take a deep dive and analyze some of the moments that were overlooked.
71% of Americans say the economy is doing well, including 60% of Democrats.
It's doing great for a thinner and thinner slice at the top. When you've got a government, when you've got an economy that does great for those with money and isn't doing great for everyone else.
Beating an incumbent president during a booming economy is a huge task. So Senator Warren and the Democrats are going to try and convince voters that unless you're in the 1%, the economy sucks.
You ask them, how are you measuring the greatness of this economy of yours? And they point to the jobless numbers and the unemployment numbers. Well, yeah, people in America are working. They're working 2 and 3 jobs.
Where have I heard this one before?
Well, unemployment is low because everyone has 2 jobs.
As I have pointed out in a past video, the percentage of American workers who have multiple jobs is at about 5%. This has been the average for the past 10 years, and hasn't been higher than 6.5% in the last 25 years. And according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, out of a workforce of roughly 150 million, only 316,000 workers in the United States have 2 full-time jobs, and only about 4.3 million have 1 full-time job and 1 part-time job.
They're working 2 and 3 jobs.
The vast majority of working Americans hold a single job, so talking about people working 2 and 3 jobs isn't going to connect with 95% of the workforce.
Some Democrats want a marginal individual tax rate of 70% on the very highest earners, those making more than $10 million a year. Would you support that? And if not, what would your top individual rate be?
And even though 59% of registered voters supposedly favor a 70% individual tax rate, you'd think that this would be a no-brainer for a progressive Democrat, but instead...
Necesitamos incluir cada persona en el éxito de esta economía. Cada votante necesitamos...
Would you support a 70% individual marginal tax rate? Yes, no, or pass?
I would support a tax rate and a tax code that is fair to everyone.
A tax rate and tax code that is fair. Fair is very subjective, and that could mean anything. Anyway, not to be outdone by Beto, Senator Cory Booker tried his hand at pandering too.
La situación ahora es inaceptable. Este presidente ha atacado, ha demonizado los inmigrantes. Es inaceptable. Voy a cambiar este.
Then, Booker goes after Big Pharma and the insurance companies.
Consumer prices are being raised by pharmaceutical companies that often have monopolistic holds on drugs. There are too many people profiteering off of the pain of people in America, from pharmaceutical companies to insurers.
Watching Senator Booker rail against pharma and insurance companies is amusing. Between 2014 and 2016, Booker accepted thousands of dollars in pharmaceutical PAC money and tens of thousands from companies like Pfizer, Bristol-Myers Squibb, and Merck & Company. And in the 2018 cycle, Senator Booker received $31,500 from 14 different political action committees representing insurance companies.
This is one of the reasons why, well before I was running for president, I said I would not take contributions from pharma companies, not take contributions from corporate PACs or pharma executives.
It's only a problem when you're planning to run for president and taking hundreds of thousands of dollars is considered to be bad optics.
The reason why the Trump tax cut had to be passed is because they had to pay back their donors. You heard it, they actually said those words.
This is in reference to a comment by Representative Chris Collins. In 2017, when asked by a reporter if donors were happy with the Trump tax cut proposal, Collins replied, "My donors are basically saying, get it done or don't ever call me again." Regardless, as a Republican, Representative Collins was likely going to vote for the tax bill with or without the insistence of donors.
So the corruption in Washington is real, and it is something that makes every one of the plans we've heard about over the last several months impossible. And I have the most comprehensive approach to do it with clean elections, publicly funded elections.
And yet, in 2018, she accepted millions of dollars in corporate PAC money, including $1.9 million from individuals and PACs related to Wall Street. OpenSecrets.org writes, from 2013 to 2018, she raised more than $20 million. Almost 60% of that came from large individual contributions. Remember kids, large individual contributions from donors are bad, unless you're the one receiving them.
I don't believe only in reproductive freedom, I believe in reproductive justice.
I can see it now. The Department of Reproductive Justice.
Just because a woman, or let's also not forget, someone in the trans community, a trans female, is poor, doesn't mean they shouldn't have the right to exercise that right to choose.
And I thought Beto's pandering to the Latino community was bad. I don't need to point out that a trans female is a person that was born as a biological male, which means that no matter how hard they try, they can never get pregnant. I mean, maybe they can get a pretend abortion, I don't know. And because he tweeted the same thing he said on stage, it's pretty clear that Secretary Castro doesn't totally understand the terminology.
The reason that they're separating these little children from their families is that they're using Section 1325 of that act, which criminalizes coming across the border, to incarcerate the parents and then separate them.
He wants to no longer have it be a crime to illegally cross the border. Do you support that? Do you think it should be a civil offense only? Do you worry about potentially incentivizing people to come here?
Immigrants, they do not diminish America, they are America.
Great. Yet another US senator that refuses to differentiate between legal and illegal immigration.
We have a situation right now where we need workers in our fields and in our factories. We need them to start small businesses. And this president has literally gone backwards at a time where our economy needs immigrants.
That's a lie. President Trump has been very clear that we need immigrants for those very reasons.
Do you think that you demonized immigrants in
Not
this
at all.
election
No, not
to
at all.
try to keep...
I want them to come into the country, but they have to come in legally. You know, they have to come in, Jim, through a process. I want it to be a process, and I want people to come in, and we need the people.
Your campaign...
Wait. You know why we need the people, don't you? Because we have hundreds of companies moving in. We need the people.
Thank you, President Trump. Very cool.
70 of our Fortune 500 companies are headed up by people that came from other countries. 25% of our US Nobel laureates were born in other countries.
So decriminalize border crossings because we need more CEOs and Nobel laureates? Got it.
Donald Trump the other day tried to threaten me. He thought it was a threat to tell me that he would send refugees in Washington state if we passed the law that I passed.
Governor Inslee is referring to the bill that he signed that makes Washington a sanctuary state.
We welcome refugees into our state.
Offering assistance to refugees is fine, but maybe Governor Inslee should make Washingtonians a priority, considering that there are tens of thousands of homeless people that need help in the Evergreen State.
We need a Marshall Plan for Honduras and Guatemala and El Salvador, so that people can find safety and opportunity at home instead of coming to the United States to seek it.
So let's throw billions of dollars at the Northern Triangle of Central America. Oh wait, we've been doing that already. Since 2001, the United States has given Guatemala $2.4 billion in aid, Honduras $1.8 billion, and El Salvador $2.2 billion.
We got to look at the root causes. And you have a situation where Honduras, among other things, is a failing state. Massive corruption.
So yeah, let's keep sending corrupt governments millions of dollars a year. What could possibly go wrong?
A lot of you have been talking tonight about these government health care plans that you've proposed in one form or another. Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
This is a prime example of the disconnect between Democrats and voters. According to a Rasmussen poll, 76% of likely voters believe that illegal immigrants should not be eligible for local, state, and federal government services. So anyone who crosses the border successfully wins a healthcare plan. Great. But the big question is, how do you give undocumented immigrants coverage if they're undocumented?
But of course, the real problem is we shouldn't have 11 million undocumented people with no pathway to citizenship. It makes no sense. And the American people agree on what to do. This is the crazy thing.
No, the crazy thing is how Democrats like Buttigieg are ignoring the will of the voters. According to polling by Rasmussen, 67% of all likely voters believe that illegal immigration is a serious problem, and they also don't think that Democrats want to stop it. Gee, where would they get that idea?
They, in fact, contribute to the well-being of the country, but they also, for example, they've increased the lifespan of Social Security because they have a job, they're paying a Social Security tax. That's what they're doing. It's increased the lifespan.
Undocumented workers pay an estimated $15 billion into a Social Security system that pays out $1.1 trillion. But thanks for that 1.36% contribution, you're keeping the system solvent.
A mother who pays a coyote to transport her child through their country of origin, through the entire country of Mexico, facing unknown peril to come here. Why would that mother do that?
Maybe, just maybe, it's because you're inviting them to cross the border without fear of being charged with a crime, releasing them into the country, welcoming them to your sanctuary cities and states, offering free healthcare, and promising a path to citizenship. Thanks for watching, sharing, and hitting that like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Check out the links in the description and check out these videos you may have missed. Also, check out some cool merch while you're at it. As always, thanks for stopping by, and I hope to see you next time.